Hello and welcome to Raw Chatter. I am your host speaking, Vicky Midwood, health coach, and I am also the disordered eating and alcohol dependence specialist. All things gut health, all things autoimmune. I cover all of that because those issues tend to go hand in hand with people who have had problems with food and with alcohol and body image for years. And the topic today is actually related to those things in a roundabout way. I want to talk to you about stop sacrificing sleep. Sleep is something that keeps cropping up time and time again. And I'm a great believer in if something keeps coming up on a regular basis with my clients, then it means that it's kind of a clue that I need to be talking more widely to people about this topic. And sleep is a biggie, isn't it? Now, I know that I have talked about sleep in the past, but on this episode, I really want to help all of us to take home, if we absolutely can, and embrace and own the importance and the power of sleep. We all know in today's world, we are inundated with stimuli, right? From social media, from the noise just around us in general, from traffic, from people talking. Even if we're going into a quiet space, you're often not on your own a lot of the time. You can hear other people around you. In the background, you can hear kind of the distant hum of traffic. And all of these things mean that we get stimulated. We're also living in an environment and a world now where we are constantly having to make decisions. And every decision that you have to make is going to deplete your brain and your body's energy reserves. And the way that your body recharges, if you like, is through sleep. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about rest today because I've covered that, but rest is a necessity, right? We need to allow during the day our brain to switch off, and we need to allow ourselves to just get away from tablets and phones and computers and meetings and people, and just give ourselves some space to just be. And ideally in that, if you can include a nap where you literally do allow yourself to have some sleep, then do so. But if you can't, just taking yourself out in nature, just getting into an environment or a space where you can just literally switch off, even if it's just for 2 or 3 minutes, is so important. But back to the main topic, which is sleep. It keeps cropping up with my clients, and they underestimate the role that sleep has to play in the thoughts and the behaviors, and particularly in the mood that they feel they have. So I can guarantee that if somebody is feeling that their mood is starting to drop, that their energy levels are tanking, or that they're feeling like they can't switch off because their brain is so active because they've got so many things to do, they're going to have poor sleep. And so many people believe that sleep is something that we can easily sacrifice. And I want you to know that sacrificing your sleep in favor of staying busy, doing more things, fitting stuff in before you go to bed is probably the worst health decision that you can make, both for your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, and your mental well-being. Your body needs a lot of sleep to work well. There are so many things that happen when we are sleeping that cannot happen at any other time of the day. Your liver has certain processes that it does when you are asleep. Your body is creating hormones. It is resetting systems, your nervous system function. It is clearing out your brain and your body of the debris of the day that has just gone. And It then needs to be able to have the time to actually make new cells, repair damaged tissue, and eliminate any toxins or nasties that shouldn't be in there, and deal with them. And if you are consistently not getting enough sleep by as little as 1 hour less than your body requires every night, over a week, you're in a deficit of 7 hours. Over a fortnight, that's a deficit of 14 hours. Over a month, that's a deficit of 28 to 30 hours. And that takes some making up. Now, your body is designed to deal with some sleep deficit. And that is why you may find that if you've had a hectic kind of week where you've had a load of really, really late nights, and then you get the opportunity to sleep in at the weekend, you actually sleep for 10 or 12 hours without waking up, or even longer if you can. And that is because your body just needs that sleep, and it's going to take it. When you go on holiday, for example, if you find that you are sleeping much more than you do when you're at home, that's a clear sign that your body and your brain are trying to make up for that sleep deficit that you have been running on for a number of weeks, or in some cases months, and in some people years. Now, this sleep deficit over time is going to absolutely detrimentally affect your immune system and how it functions. It has a huge effect on brain function, huge. And so if you are somebody who already has issues that you're concerned about in terms of you're dealing with brain fog on a daily basis, you're dealing with lack of focus, you're dealing with, you feel you're dealing with loss in memory. And for most people, actually, that's not what is happening. But if you're finding that you seem to be struggling more and more, the first place you need to look at is your sleep. Now, I do come across a lot of people who just go, oh, yeah, I'm not very good at sleeping. Oh, sleep. I don't sleep well. And you've heard me say this before. Your brain is plastic. It is programmable. We can change what we put into our brain. But if we are consistently and continuously repeating the phrase, I don't sleep well, that's going to be absolutely what happens. I struggle to get to sleep. That will be your reality. I never sleep through the night. Well, then that will be your reality, because your brain thinks it's helpful. It takes instructions like a GPS system. And if you're telling it that that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. Here's the thing. Most people don't realize that by saying what they don't want, they are actually inviting that very thing in. And sleep is no different. So if you are going to bed worrying that you're not going to sleep, you can guarantee you're not going to sleep, because you've already decided that you're not going to sleep, and your brain will oblige. So you've got to change the story, but you've also got to change what you are doing during the day to make sure that your body is primed for sleep. I'm going to go with what you're doing just before sleep, first of all, and then we'll look at what you need to be doing actually in the morning, because a good night's sleep starts with a good morning. And so when you are thinking about what time do you need to go to bed, well, the easiest thing is to work backwards. What we do know is we need over 6 hours. 6 hours is an absolute minimum. There is so much research out there, and do Google. Feel free to do your own research. Do Google research into sleep in people under 6 hours. And it will give you a list of research that's been done and all of the detrimental things that then happen in your body and as far as your brain is concerned when you get less than 6 hours a night on a consistent basis. And it is not good reading, I can tell you. So 6 hours isn't your minimum. It's your kind of, you're going to be kind of destructive and harming yourself. So I would say to people, you aim for 7 where possible. You aim for 7. Now, are there anomalies? Yes, there are. But is it something ridiculous like less than 1% of the population who can actually function okay on 6 hours or less. It is a tiny, tiny minority. And let's face it, most of us are not that tiny minority. There are anomalies. Most of you will, a lot of you will remember Margaret Thatcher, who got very little sleep and still was absolutely functioning on all cylinders, or so we were led to believe. Who knows? My point is, 7 needs to be your minimum. The majority of people need somewhere between 7 and 9. Now, a lot of people think, oh, 9, that's a lot. I know from firsthand experience that actually a number of people, more people than you think, do better on 9 hours sleep consistently. They're okay on 8, but they do better on 9. And this is where you've got to ask yourself, how do I want to show up in the world? Do I want to show up just kind of getting by? Or do I actually want to show up feeling good, feeling optimal, feeling energized, feeling great the majority of the time? Because if you're not getting enough sleep, you are not going to feel like the latter at all. Right? You will struggle with mood, you will struggle with memory, you will struggle to make decisions, you will struggle with your energy, and you'll absolutely struggle, very likely struggle with poor immune function, and potentially be more prone to getting all kinds of diseases, things like autoimmune issues and aches and pains in muscles. You're also going to want to eat more if you don't sleep, because it affects your hunger and full up hormones. It absolutely has an effect on how your body utilizes and stores body fat. So not getting enough sleep, if you are in any way, shape or form concerned about your body size, shape and how much fat you are carrying, then it's a no-brainer to prioritize your sleep and your hydration. Those two things are vital for helping you to either lose weight or maintain a healthy weight. And if you're compromising your sleep and you're trying desperately to diet and train, you're on a hiding to nothing. I can tell you that now. You are literally not going to get the results that you want if you're not sleeping. Your body utilizes fat as a fuel when you are asleep, which is why sleep and rest, walking, right, really kind of gentle exercise if you're trying to drop body fat are your go-tos. Not hitting it hardcore and creating a stress response, which by the nature of it, a stress response is going to prevent your body from using fat as a fuel. So prioritizing sleep if weight is an issue is a no-brainer. Prioritizing sleep if mood and memory are a concern for you should also be a no-brainer. If you are a student, right, and you are out partying and then you're trying to get in your revision, try and get up later on in the day if that's possible, so that you have actually had your sleep. Here's the thing. People get really het up on, do I have to work with the circadian rhythm? Do I have to go to bed when it's dark and get up when it's light? In an ideal world, we'd all do that, but we all live in different time frames, so that's not possible. We know that when the clocks change, it's dark at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's dark when you get up. Sometimes it doesn't get light till 7 or 8. So we're not going to spend all of that time asleep, that is for sure. But what we can do is try and have some regular where possible. And I'm talking, right, the 80-20 rule here. We got a life. You are going to have times when you are going out and you've got events on and you just can't get to bed at the same time. But, you know, where possible, go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time. Your body and your brain love routine. Eating your meals at the same sort of time of day, going to bed at the same sort of time of day and getting up. Those things on their own can make a massive difference to your energy, to your focus, to how you handle curved balls that life throws you, and also to your body composition, your body fat storage and utilization abilities. So just those things alone make a huge difference to your body. Add in the importance of hydration and you pretty much cracked it in terms of helping your body to work well. Because if you've got those boxes ticked, when it then comes to food and exercise, it's so much easier. But if you're going down the road of trying to change your body shape or your size or how you feel about yourself, via the food and the exercise route, and you're not looking at your sleep and the regularity with which you're going to bed and the regularity with which you're eating and staying hydrated, you are taking the hardest route possible. And I've seen people do it over and over again, omitting the things that matter the most and focusing on the things that actually, unless those other things are in place, are never going to get you the results that you want. So when it comes to sleep, what do we need to be doing? Ideally, you want to decide, first of all, what time do I need to be up by? And what I want you to think about is not time can I get away with, what's the latest I can get up by? Because if you are getting up in a state of anxiety and rushing around like an idiot, you're going to have undone some of the goodness of your sleep. It's certainly not going to help your nervous system or your cortisol and your adrenaline if you start your day in a state of stress and anxiety. So realistically, what time do you need to get up that allows you plenty of time to do what you need to do in the morning? When you know what time that is, work backwards. And I would say, if you are somebody who's been consistently only getting 6 or 7 hours, then try 9 and see how it feels. If you go, no, it's too much, can't do that, we'll start with 8. Yeah, at least start with 8. And if you want to go somewhere in between 8.5, 7.5, obviously do that. But go more than you have been doing. Will you then probably find it feels a little bit strange? Yes, only because it's new. So this is where you need to utilize other ways of helping you to get ready for sleep and to wind down. One thing that I really recommend that you do is try and get off your phone at least. Ideally an hour, but realistically 30 minutes before you switch out the light. The worst thing you can do is scroll on your phone, put your phone down at the side of the bed, and then try and go to sleep. Good luck with that. You might sleep, you might get to sleep, but I can guarantee you'll probably wake up 2 or 3 times in the night. What our brain takes in, what we are taking in and kind of processing, the last thing we take in and process before we go to sleep, that is what your brain is working on when you're sleeping. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not want my brain to be working on the news because it's always doom and gloom. It's never good. So I don't want to be watching that before I go to bed. And I don't really want to be watching some mundane reel of somebody else's life that's going to make me feel a little bit inferior and a little bit like shit either, because that will be what I'm thinking about as I'm going to sleep. So what you want to be exposing yourself to before you go to sleep is something positive, something light-hearted, something that maybe makes you laugh, something that makes you smile, something that makes you feel good. Or it could be that there is something that you want your brain to be working on, maybe an issue or a situation, and you want a solution. That could be the last thing that you do before bed. What I do is I write a list of 10 gratitudes, and I'm going to thank Love Brain for this habit. Love Brain, if you don't know what it is, it's a brain training program for memory and focus and productivity. Feel free to Google it. They have workshops and incredible experiences going on all of the time, and they are expanding, just incredible. But that is where I got the habit of writing 10 things that I am grateful for, 10 things that I am genuinely grateful for that happened in the day. And that makes you think about the good stuff, the positive things. That little book then goes on my bedside table, so that when I wake up, the first thing that I do is not pick up my phone, is I pick up that gratitude journal and I just read. Sometimes I don't read all 10. Sometimes I just read the first 2 or 3. And I then might wake up and just be grateful that I have had a great night's sleep, that I have got a bedroom that is not crazy, crazy hot in this mad weather, or whatever it is that you want to add to that. So it doesn't have to be just that list. It could be something that you wake up genuinely feeling grateful for. That's the key though, genuinely. Not just saying the words because I say gratitudes when I wake up. It's actually, what am I genuinely grateful for? It makes the difference to how you set yourself up for the day. And it's also a good habit to get into before you go to bed at night. The other thing to make sure is that your bedroom is absolutely pitch black and cool. If you are too hot, and I know a lot of us are, unless you are one of the lucky few that's got air conditioning in your bedroom. In the UK, that's not the majority of us, I don't think. In other countries, it definitely is. But you need to be cool. So if you can put a fan on, that white noise from the fan running through the night is actually quite helpful in terms of sleep as well. But make sure your room is cool. So maybe put the fan on before you go in. If you really are struggling, you can, yes, I know it sounds odd, but it does actually work. If you wet your sheet, and if you've got a cover, if you've got a mattress cover, if you wet your sheet and put it in the freezer and then put your sheet on before you go to bed. You can do the same thing with socks. You can put a pair of wet your socks, put them in the freezer and put your wet frozen socks on, right? Because if your feet are cool, it's easier for the rest of your body to cool down. I also like to utilize a diffuser with some nice calming essential oils in. And I have a diffuser that switches itself off, so it has a timer. So I tend to put that on 30 minutes before I go up into my bedroom, and then it will switch itself off after. Usually I set it for 3 hours, but you can set it for longer than that if you want to. The other thing is, if you can leave a window open and get some fresh air circulating around your bedroom, then do. I know not everybody is able to do that. And I also know that if you're sleeping with a partner, that can be a bit of a challenge because one of you might want it and one of you won't. Talking of the partner thing, if you do sleep with a partner, preferably have separate duvets. Sure, sleep in a double bed, but if you have two single duvets, it just takes away this getting too hot, wanting to throw the duvet off the other person, wanting to put the duvet wrapped around them. So if you have your own duvet, then you can do what the heck you like with it without disturbing your partner. So that is a real top tip I recommend you do. The other thing is, make sure that you do not have your phone near to your head when you are sleeping. And ideally, you want to have your bedroom as clutter-free as possible. If you're going into an environment where you want to be winding down and feeling relaxed and feeling calm, it doesn't want to be a cluttered space that just doesn't encourage relaxation and calm. So your bedroom really should be for two things, for sleeping and for sex, and that is it. It's not your office, it's not your laundry room, it's not your dumping space, right? So if you have got a cluttered bedroom, I really recommend that you try and take some time out as soon as possible to declutter it and just make it a space that feels inviting for you to just go in and switch off and sleep well. And then just going on to the morning, what do we need to do in terms of setting ourselves up for a good night's sleep that evening? Well, I've already said going to bed and getting up at the same time is a really good thing to do. The other thing that is highly recommended is to exercise first thing in the morning. Now, I know a lot of you just can't do that and it's not your thing and you prefer to exercise during the middle of the day or even later on in the evening, but you don't want to be eating 3 hours before you go to bed, right? That is ideally the latest. 3 hours. Leave 3 hours from once you've finished eating to going to bed. Exercise is the same, right? If you're exercising or eating within 2 hours of going to bed, it will affect your sleep. Drinking alcohol will affect your sleep. Yes, alcohol definitely does help you to get to sleep. There are no arguments there. It does. But it does unfortunately disturb your sleep and it will get you waking up in the early hours of the morning. You will not have the same quality of sleep that you would have had if you'd have drunk alcohol earlier in the day. Now, I'm not advocating that you drink alcohol during the daytime really early, but what I'm saying is if you are going to have a drink, make it sort of early evening and call it a draw so that your body has got time to get the majority of the alcohol out of its system before you're trying to go to sleep at night. In the morning, you want to try and exercise if you can. The research is out there that says very, very clearly that people who do exercise in the morning do tend to sleep better in the evening. There are, of course, anomalies, and that is not the same for everybody. But if you want to get your exercise in and you are somebody who's going, oh, I struggle to fit it in, this is where working out what time you can get up without rushing that allows you time to exercise in the morning is a really good morning routine habit to get into. The other thing is to try and get outside as early as you can in the daylight and try and just look up at the sky and get the light to hit the back of your eye. if we can stimulate that pineal gland at the back of the eye to get the melatonin production happening, it means that you are, again, setting yourself up for a better night's sleep. And it just makes sense. If you are somebody who does genuinely struggle with sleep, doing everything you possibly can to set yourself up for a good night is an ideal thing to do. Now, I have got a little checklist for you that you can download. So there is a link that you just feel free. It's kind of like my checklist of 14 things that you can do to help yourself to have a good night's sleep. You don't have to do all of them. If you're already doing some of them, fantastic. And if you can add on a couple more just to help yourself, then please do that. But overarching message that I want you to take away from this is stop thinking that sleep can be something just to be pushed onto one side because something else is more important. It really isn't. It really is not. If it gets to late at night and you've got something that you need to do, my advice would be shelve it and leave it till the next day. You will be functioning and feeling much more able and equipped to be able to do that thing, probably in half the time and much more effectively and efficiently than if you do it later on in the evening and it makes you end up in bed later on. Now, I know there are times when we can't always do that, if we've got deadlines to meet and so on. But where possible, if you have had a night's sleep that has been compromised, try and make up that deficit as soon as you can, because the more you keep building on that sleep deficit, the worse it's going to affect you emotionally, mentally, and physically. So I hope you have got some takeaways from this. If the only thing I've left you with is that you need to prioritize your sleep over and above everything else, well, I'm happy, because if we all did that, we would all be able to function so much better on every single level. And as always, folks, I'm going to leave you with, we only have one life as far as we know and one body. Please look after it. And sleep is a really good way of looking after it because it is looking after you. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.